Americans are not being whipped on a southern plantation by slave masters. However, they still are being mistreated today. Many have poor housing, limited job opportunities, and are lacking in other necessities. As a matter of fact, slavery has also hugely impacted the African American family. Although some have been able to find success in the United States, many are still struggling to attain the American dream. Therefore, there is no doubt that slavery and life on the plantation has influenced African Americans in the United States. Living conditions for African Americans have changed since slavery, but there is room for improvement. On the southern plantations, slaves lived in cabin stand, labored in field, carried out domestic duties, and performed hard labor. They were overworked and many times were abused emotionally and physically by their masters. Although they didn't have to pay for their housing on the southern plantation, their living conditions were also not satisfactory. Nowadays, African Americans struggle to obtain affordable housing. Half of all African Americans rent their apartments or homes, and 61% of renters spend more than 30% of their income on rent. Therefore, very little money is left for their salary to meet financial and family obligations. Although African Americans are free today, it is evident that life on the plantation has affected their opportunities for living comfortably. The structure of African American families has also been affected by slavery. Until 1865, slaves could not legally marry, for they were considered property of southern states. Nuclear families sometimes lived together on a plantation, but others were separated because of the sale of their family members. African Americans lived in constant fear of separation. The roots of slaves have suffered, making it nearly impossible to track families who were separated. Therefore, the United States of America has become a nation of illegitimate children, which has impacted the functioning and the welfare of African American families. Employment opportunities, likewise, have also changed, but African Americans are still underrepresented in the workforce. On the plantation, it was common for the slaves to work long hours engaged in hard labor, such as the harvesting of crops, the chopping of wood, and the building of structures. The following excerpt from the narrative of the life of Frederick Douglass clearly shows how difficult labor was for the slave. When their day's work in the field is done, the most of them having their washing, mending, and cooking to do, and having few or none of the ordinary facilities for doing either of these, very many of their sleeping hours are consumed in preparing for the field the coming day. And when this is done, old and young, male and female, married and single, drop down side by side on one common bed, the cold, damp floor, each covering himself or herself with their miserable blankets. And here they sleep till they are summoned to the field by their driver's horn. Therefore, labor was physically and emotionally draining. Likewise, women, after giving birth, would return to the fields after feeding their babies to continue working. Children by age 7 or 8 also had to work doing chores around the plantation. Today, even though U.S. employment is decreasing for the majority of the population, African Americans are suffering more than other ethnic groups with an unemployment rate of 14.3%. Employers rejected one black woman, Yolanda Spivey, until she changed her name so it sounded like she was white. Therefore, slavery has affected job discrimination in the United States today. Women earn only 77 cents for every dollar men earn, with women of color at even greater disadvantage with 64 cents on the dollar for an African American woman and 56 cents for a Hispanic woman. The White House wrote in a statement on the Paycheck Fairness Act in June. Plantation life during slavery has left a footprint on African Americans today. Living conditions, family structure, and their position in the workplace demonstrate a constant struggle to improve the quality of their lives significantly affected by slavery. They have historically been at the bottom of the social pyramid, making it very difficult for them to ascend. Consequently, slavery in the life of plantation has impacted African Americans in the United States today. Following video gives you an example on how slaves were constantly mistreated by their masters.
Sun shining on my head. Farewell, fellow servant.
find a way to leave you. Try to leave the old county. I'm sold off to Georgie. Try to leave my mama and my papa. My brother and my sister.
You're talking about getting a new calico. So get on in. Oh, it's all right, child. It's all right.
Get inside. James, your name is Toby. I want to hear you say it. Your name is Toby. You're going to learn to say your name. Let me hear you say it. What's your name?
Kunta Kinte.
When the master gives you something, you take it. He gave you a name. It's a nice name. It's Toby. And it's going to be yours till the day you die. Now, I know you understand me, and I want to hear it. Again! I want to hear you say your name. Your name is Toby. What's your name?
Kunta.
What's your name? Say it! Cut him down. It could be another day. Or no!
Well, the lad's made his choice.